ended up in Estonia.
Estonia.
Tallinn is the name of the town.
Okay.
In
City.
Yeah.
That was a big city.
It's got two parts.
Now, is Estonia part of the old Russian Empire?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Estonia,
But it's
Latvia, and
a third one.
yeah.
So they've pulled away from that now.
Yeah.
They did, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. In the history, they told us a lot about how the Vikings came in,
Oh.
and then the Russians came in, and then the Finnish came in, and they've just been taken
Invaded.
over,
Yeah.
invaded
More
so
times
many
than you can
times.
count, right?
Yes, and they're so happy, so happy to be independent now.
It's great.
Our guide was great, very informative on that.
Now, what's their industry there? Are they oil based as well, or are they?
Good
I
question.
don't
I don't know the
I
answer to
couldn't-
that.
Okay.
I know
Tourism
tourism.
probably
is a big one,
tourism
right?
is a very big one. Yeah.
Right.
In Tallinn, there were two parts to the city. There was the upper part, or Dome Hill,
Right.
Tumpia.
Okay.
Tumpia was the Dome Hill where the aristocrats lived and where the
Right.
government, seat
Right.
was. And then there was the lower town where the working class
Or
people
the
were.
old town. Yeah, they called
Yeah.
it the old town.
Yeah.
Okay.
And up on the top there was the Parliament building. We saw the Parliament building there, and we saw a couple cathedrals, Alexander Nevsky's Cathedral and St. Mary's Cathedral. Beautiful cathedral, inside and out again.
Right.
And then
The Alexander Nevsky Cathedral was the first one we saw, where we saw onion domes, with lots of gold on
Oh
the
yeah.
domes.
Right.
And
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
it was very, very pretty. We all got to that part and
and then she took us, our guide, walking guide, took us to an overlook where you could overlook. You're higher than everything else. You
Right.
see all these red roof tops, and,
Right.
and
And
overlooking
spires.
in the spires, and you're overlooking the old town.
Right.
And then you walk down cobblestone streets.
Okay.
I mean, these are true cobblestone streets.
rocks.
Yeah.
You love riding a bike on those,
Oh,
right?
I would not ride a bike. And steep. I mean, they were
Oh, yeah.
cobblestone, steep, and narrow. But it got us down into the lower town, and they were making a movie when we were there.
Really?
An old, people dressed up like
Like
in the
20s.
or 30s.
Was
And
it a U.S. movie, or was it a?
I don't think so.
I didn't hear any English being spoken,
Okay.
so I would imagine not.
Okay.
So,
That's super.
yeah.
And we got down there and we got into the town square. The old government building was there, and they had a little treat for us. This one restaurant gave us each a box of cinnamon-coated
Almonds.
almonds.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah.
it was delicious. And we say cinnamon coated, but they told us that there were 14 different herbs and spices, cooked together
Really?
to coat these almonds. And, we go to the fairs and you smell those
Oh,
almonds.
yeah, right,
And
right.
they're very good, but these were delicious.
Yeah.
Great.
So,
So you spent what, one afternoon or one day there?
One day.
full
One
day.
day there,
yeah.
Yeah.
and you got your tour, and then you had your free time.
Free
and
time, and
Now you move on to the next
now
city.
we can move on to the next city.
And
And the next city was St. Petersburg, Russia.
that's one I've always wanted to go to.
You got to
Yeah.
get to it.
My 8th grade geography teacher instilled a love of geography in general,
Right.
but spoke so much of Russia. That had been on my bucket list, number one on my
Right.
bucket list since 8th grade. So this was really a treat. To
Now
see
the name of the town has actually changed, hasn't it? Wasn't it Leningrad before?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's back. Yeah, it was I think it was St. Petersburg before for Peter the Great,
Okay.
and then when Lenin came in, and then now he's gone.
Okay. So it's
So-
back
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 again.
again to St. Petersburg.
And here we did something a little different. They offered a tour,
They
and
offered
included
several
a
different-
tour. Yes, an included tour and several different tours.
We were there for 2 days.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 full
Wow.
days. But we decided to get in touch with
The other
Lo-
couple that we were with,
local guides.
got in touch with a local guide,
Okay.
and we contracted out with a local guide to give us a 2-day tour.
Wow.
And another couple, it was posted online, and another couple
Cruise critic.
decided to join us from New Zealand.
So you had ended up with three couples on
Three
this private
couples
tour.
on a private tour
For 2 full
for
days.
2 full days.
Wow.
It was.
We had a local guide who spoke very good English. She had a van for all 6 of us, and she knew where to go and when to go, what was going to be open on what days and what time things
Right.
opened and what
We
time.
never waited even, well, maybe 5 minutes to get into some of the, longer lines.
Right.
She'd say, stay here, I'll be back, and she'd come back with our tickets, and then we'd just walk right in.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So it was
worth the wait.
Well-
worth
worth
the extra money.
money.
Yes.
Yeah,
very much
definitely.
so.
Definitely.
Actually, Viking offered a 2-day tour. Going this way was less expensive
Really?
than paying
Tours
what-
by Locals, that is the name of the website that you can get a tour guide from
Right.
the local all around the world.
So they knew all the ins and outs of where to go, what
Yeah.
time to get there,
Yeah.
get you through, so
Yeah.
you could see a lot more
Right.
over a period of time.
Right, right. And
sounds fantastic.
she was very professional.
Yeah.
She knew exactly where to take us, and we did discuss that before, via email.
Right.
And
what we wanted to see, what
Okay.
we wanted to do, and then she arranged the schedule
That's great.
to fit our.
So it's a kind of a customized tour.
Yes.
it really was.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
So you got to see a lot of St. Petersburg.
Yes.
Yes.
We started out by going to Peterhof.
Which is his palace,
which is
Peter
pa-
the Great's palace.
Ah,
It's outside the city proper, and it's got gardens like you wouldn't believe, and fountains like you
Yeah.
wouldn't believe. It was spectacular. And the amazing thing is these fountains are shooting up in the air, and there's no pumps.
really?
It's all run by gravity.
Wow.
By them opening gates to these different fountains, the water comes rushing in
Really?
and shooting out. Yeah, it
That's
was
amazing.
And they weren't on all the time,
Right.
but our guide knew this is the time we want to be there.
Oh.
So we saw it without the fountains, and then
We saw them when they turned the main fountains. The other fountains, the side fountains, were on, but
in some of the gardens.
the main part of the palace, that there's a way that goes down into the bay. There was nothing was on, and our guide showed it. Okay, take a look at it now. Take your pictures. Then we walked down. She says, get a good spot, because at 11 o'clock.
Yeah,
it was,
right.
And 11 o'clock, the music comes on, and these fountains
Really?
just start little at first, and then
Right.
just start going off. And
Wow.
it's just, and to think
And
that
and Peter the Great, he was the designer of the buildings, the gardens, and all these fountains and waterways. And the waterway that he mentioned, the canal that goes down to the bay, they would have the royalty that were coming to visit them on the bay, and then they would come up, and as they were coming up, they would turn
The
all the
fountains would
fountains
turn
on.
on.
Yeah.
Great.
And this Peterhof is designed after Versailles because it was trying to compete with Louis. So,
Wow.
yep.
and we went from there. I think we went to Catherine's palace.
Yep.
Right.
mhm.
And
Right.
the gold on the inside, and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the wooden floors, the marquetry or whatever you.
Yeah. The marquetry and the
how it's all-
floor.
It just reeked with money.
Oh, it sure did. Oh, it sure did. There was this one
Yeah.
I
room
think
that's
that's the one where
mirrors.
we had to put protectors over our feet, wasn't it?
oh yeah, yeah. Like
Oh.
little hospital type booties
Right.
that you put on your feet.
So you wouldn't scuff up the floor.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Wow.
But this one room was mirrors all around and gold filigree all over the place, and then they had this gigantic, cup thing, but it was huge. It's probably 8 feet across.
Okay.
And they would fill it with wine or champagne or whatever.
Wow.
They would fill it with some spirit.
Yeah, that's what you
and-
call a party.
and drink from it. Yeah. But
Wow.
also it was the amber room, and that people have talked about that as being the 8th wonder of the world.
Wow.
It is just amber everywhere.
Right.
Phenomenal. So that was pretty cool.
And from there, we went to Saints Peter and Paul Cathedral,
Right.
Yep.
another cathedral where
Is that
This
the
is
one where
where-
Catherine's buried?
Yeah, I
And
think- yeah.
there are many, many tombs in
Right.
that church all over the place.
Uh-huh.
Many of the emperors, the czars, and czarinas
Okay.
are entombed there.
Cool.
And after that, we had let her know that we wanted to see a ballet.
Ah,
So she had tickets for a ballet.
fantastic.
And she told us where we should go eat
Mm-hmm.
our dinner, which was walking distance to the ballet, and then we saw Swan Lake.
Ah, fantastic.
It was
You liked it?
wonderful.
It,
Oh,
it
yeah.
it was very nice. It was
Great.
very nice. And then she had a taxi waiting for us when the ballet was over to take us back to the ship.
Fantastic.
So
Wow, she
that
did a good job.
Oh, and that was day one in Petersburg.
Day one.
That was day one.
And then there's day two.
And then we had day two.
Wow. So day two, you did your own sightseeing basically, or did you?
No, she
No,
was
she
was
kept- Oh,
she
with
came
us.
back.
She
She
came.
kept
She
us
picked us
going.
up. In
Wow.
Russia, you're really not supposed to be on your own unless you have
Okay.
a visa. And we had passports, but we didn't have visas.
Okay.
But when you're with part of a tour group, like her, she
Right.
got us tour visas
Okay.
that she was in charge or vouching for us or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
We went to St. Isaac's Cathedral on the second day, and they're pretty famous for their mosaics,
Right.
and their pieces are just minuscule,
Uh-huh.
and they're made with a very special process that they do only there in Russia, and they just sparkle, and you can't imagine that they're mosaic until you really get close
Right.
and look
close
into it.
enough. And so we would take pictures, and then I'd zoom the pictures in. But
It's great.
Then we went to the Hermitage, the art collection, which is a series of 5 buildings.
Wow.
And we got a tour inside there, saw many, many interesting art pieces. We saw Rembrandt's, we saw
Wow.
sculpture
Da
by
Vinci.
Michelangelo.
Renoir, Rubens, Raphael.
Wow.
Their collection is so huge. We were told that if you were to look at everything that they had in their collection and you spent 1 minute looking at each item,
Right.
it would take you over 7 years.
Whoa.
So
Wow, that is huge.
that's a huge
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say a week.
collection. 7 years.
It was, we
And no
saw
time
only
for
a little
sleeping.
bit.
Wow, that's
Only
fantastic.
a little bit, but it was pretty neat. Never had been that close to a Rembrandt, and they allowed photographs.
Really? Okay.
They asked that you not
No
flash,
flash.
Right, right.
but they allowed you to take photographs.
And our last stop in Russia was the Church of Our Savior on Spilled Blood.
Okay.
And that's one that you typically see with all the colorful stuff and the onions,
Onion,
towel.
Oh, yeah,
colorful
right.
onion domes.
Right, right.
That was the place where Nicholas II was fatally shot. Now, we're
Nicholas
not in.
Not Alexander?
I'm sorry, you're right, Alexander II.
Okay.
He was shot there, was right along the river. Now,
I think they brought him into the church, and that's where he died.
Okay.
but then they built out
Over.
over the spot where he was. That was outstanding.
Really?
That, never seen. We've seen several European churches.
Uh-huh.
This was the fanciest, the most beautiful.
Really?
Most beautiful. Yep.
So from when we left Russia, then we went to Finland and stopped in Helsinki.
Okay, so you're moving back the other direction
We're
now.
coming
Yeah,
back out.
actually,
and
we
Okay.
we're
just
going-
went. There's only, what do they say, 50 kilometers between St. Petersburg and Helsinki?
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's quite close.
Oh, I didn't realize it
No,
was
I don't think that. I think it's between Estonia and Helsinki. There's a mouth there, and I think it's
Okay, all right.
90 meters or something
Okay.
like
Well, it's
that.
close.
It's
anyway.
close.
It's pretty
yeah.
close.
Yeah.
But
Pretty close.
so we went to Helsinki, and again, we took the included tour.
Right.
And it started with a bus tour, and we went to the market square.
That was fun.
It was fun. A lot of different.
Fruits and
Fruits and
vegetables
vegetables.
and foods.
Right.
In
Of course, we had to try some.
We went past their Parliament buildings, and we stopped at the
Rock Church?
The Rock Church.
No, we stopped at the square first, and we had some free time. That's when we went down.
Oh, okay, okay.
We saw the Helsinki Cathedral in that big square.
Yeah.
Then we walked back down to the market, and that's when we bought some fruit to take with us.
Okay.
A little bit of this, a little bit of that, and they just scooped it up and weigh it, and then you pay for it.
Some very interesting berries, and I was looking online trying to remember the names.
Right.
And
No. No
I
such
don't know.
luck, huh?
I lingonberry and currant. I think there may have been a gooseberries in there as well, but they were all very good, and you don't see them around here.
Right, right, right.
So the bus tour continued on. We saw the 1952 Olympic Stadium. They had the Olympics there in
you're right,
52.
you're right, yeah.
And they drove us past that, and then we stopped and parked the bus, and we had to walk a little ways, and we walked to the church. It's called the Rock.
Okay.
Because Helsinki is mostly granite, and this church was built into the granite. They took the granite out.
Really?
And the church was built in, and they just put a dome over it. If you drove by it, you'd think it was a bunker. You'd never know it was a church or
right?
anything.
Oh.
But we went inside, and it was very nice inside too. And
Sounds like a lot of work to build it.
yes, it does.
You had to dig out all the granite.
That was the Lutheran Church.
Yeah.
We saw mostly Lutheran churches.
Yeah.
Well, they threw the Catholics out, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Then we went to, this is the last stop on the cruise part of the trip.
Okay.
And we stopped in Stockholm, Sweden.
My favorite city.
That
was really interesting.
I swear when I was there, all the women were between 18 and 30 and beautiful.
The cruise in to the city was really beautiful because there's over 100 islands that you know that you're cruising through.
Right.
And so they told us that if you get up about 6:30 and go up on deck and you can watch the trip in, it was very nice.
there were a lot of ships going in too, and you're zigzagging around these islands until you get into Stockholm.
Yeah. So then there we took another a short bus tour and then a guided walking tour as well, and we saw the City Hall and the Royal Palace, and then they stopped that tour close. Weren't we in the old town?
Okay.
Old Town Square.
Area?
Right.
Every town's got an Old Town Square, an Old Town Center.
Right.
It's a fun place.
Yeah, it is.
Well, when I was there, there was a ship that the king had built way back in like the early 1700s, and they took it out to sea, and it sunk on its first voyage, and it sat on the bottom of the ocean for like 700 years, and they raised it and brought it in, and I got a chance to see that when I was there. So you guys didn't see that?
I didn't see that.
Okay.
No.
Anyway, it was really interesting.
We saw from the town square, we went and saw some shops. I had to look for ice cream.
Of course.
And I had to look for chocolate.
But then we were told about the changing of the guard at the palace.
Okay.
And this is a big to-do there.
Is it?
It is really
huge.
big, yeah. It's not just two little guards changing. I mean, there's a whole company, and they're different uniforms. One was a light blue, and I think one was like a dark blue or black.
Yeah.
They have a marching band that leads the new guards coming in.
Okay.
They had an opera singer in the marching band that they would stop and play for that, and then it took probably
45?
I was going to say a half hour, 45 minutes.
Really?
To do the changing of the guard, and they do it once a day.
They do it every day.
Yeah. It was very interesting and worth watching for that amount of time.
Yeah.
Right.
It was great.
Right.
And then we walked back to the town center again, and they had
A
local band playing.
Okay.
And they were good, and they were all ages, young to old, male, female, and they were entertaining. And it started drizzling, and the band played on.
Played on.
They did.
Yeah.
And
Rain didn't bother them at all.
No.
No, not at all.
Oh, terrific.
And then we were walking back, and there was a lot of construction going on. We were walking back to the ship, and we were having a difficult time finding our way through. But when we finally got back to the ship, there was this gorgeous rainbow over a carnival that was just
On
off
the other side of
Really?
our room side of the ship.
Wow.
It's kind of putting a bow at the end of the
At the end of the trip?
at the end of the cruise part of the trip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was.
Fantastic.
So then the early the next morning,
Yeah.
we they took us to the airport, and we got on a plane, and we flew to Iceland.
Reykjavik, Iceland.
Reykjavik.
They got us to our hotel, and we had some time, and we walked into the city.
Yeah.
We
yeah.
walked into town, looked at different things, and walked back. And then after dinner, I decided I wanted to walk down to the bay, and we walked down to the bay, and it was
Nice
just
there.
beautiful.
It was gorgeous, and we were there. I was 10:30, and the sun was just about hitting the skyline.
Is that right?
Yeah, yeah, it was really beautiful. We kind of just came upon this. It looked like a shed, but I believe it was someone's home, and it was just made from all these found objects.
Okay.
And then there was all this art around.
Sculptures, different,
Yeah, that was just all found parts of stuff.
Okay.
that
you
were
know.
welded together.
It was really neat.
Something like that pig in front of the barbecue place. down
Yeah.
there.
Yeah,
Or kind of reminded me
Yeah.
of the Heidelberg
Okay.
project in Detroit. You know, where
Right, right.
Yeah.
But
Anyways.
the scenery up there is spectacular
Oh,
from what I
it
understand.
is. It is.
it's gorgeous.
It is
It's gorgeous. I learned that they don't have any trees naturally on the island
Really?
because it's just lava.
It's lava.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
And but around the cities, you will see trees, but they have been brought in.
Okay.
But when
Oh.
you're just driving along, you can just see forever and ever and ever.
Because there's no trees.
Yeah, yeah. Except for the mountains. There are quite a few mountains. So then on the next day, well, the 2 days that we were there for touring,
Right.
Viking had full-day tours for us.
Okay.
Because this was a package,
It was a package.
Right.
for
post-trip package.
So
yeah.
what did you guys see on these tours? Were they
On the first full day there, they called it the Golden Circle Tour.
Okay.
And there were 3 stops. It was Thingvellir National Park. It's another UNESCO World Heritage Site.
okay?
It's lava rocks, lava walls that you walk through, and
like almost
like
canyon-like.
canyons,
Okay.
And
then there's a flat area with a lake by it.
lakes, and there were a few buildings in there that were historical, churches and homes too.
Wow.
And you know, again, being able to see so far just really made it even more
Great.
spectacular.
And then we went to Geyser Hot Spring area,
Uh-huh.
where they have there's one geyser that shoots off every 5 to 10 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's hot springs
lot of
similar
them
to ours, you know, in Yellowstone,
Right.
where they have the pools and the bubbling and
They don't they use the hot springs for heating your homes up there?
Yes, they do, and
So
cooking.
they have free
Yeah.
free heat basically.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Wow.
And then the third stop on that day was the Gullfoss or Golden Waterfall. It's a series of waterfalls, and it drops like 96 feet, almost 100 feet from,
Right.
and it's carved again into a canyon, and you're up. We're up above. You could walk. You could take your time and walk down below, but we chose to stay up on top
Right.
and walk along the top to get some nice photos of it that way
Wow,
too. And
great.
that was our first full day in Iceland. Our second day in Iceland,
We started out at the Hofti House, and that's where Reagan met Gorbachev, and
in one of their summit
Ah,
meetings in
yeah.
Iceland.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and they have a plaque out in front of it,
Okay.
remembering that.
And then we went to Harpa, which is a conference and concert hall. It's very unique. It's made out of these long hexagonal shapes, but just they're no bigger than this.
They rock or?
No,
Glass.
glass.
Oh, the glass.
And
Okay.
some of them are colored, and there's
Okay.
Different
layers
shades
of them,
it.
and
It just,
Wow.
it's
pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah, sounds great.
Pretty cool.
So did they perform for you there, or is it just
No,
see
we
the-
No,
just-
we just saw
just saw it
the
inside and
venue.
out.
And it's
And
right on the bay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's right on the
And
water.
mountains, and
Right.
Yeah.
it's a very popular
Okay.
venue. They also have a very modern Lutheran church. I would tend to think it's probably quite a landmark. The front of the church is just a towering shape, but
Okay.
it's not cylindrical. It just kind of like this
Okay.
goes
Yeah.
up.
Right.
I don't know how to describe that, but and it was beautiful inside, and
Very modern. It's not your
yeah.
stained glass. It's
Right.
not,
No.
Right.
It's not
No.
like anything that we had seen,
Right.
earlier in the trip.
And then our guide, we're all standing in there, and our guide starts singing "Amazing Grace" a cappella.
Oh,
Just
really?
sing.
And it just the way the
The
sound,
reverb
wa-
in
it
the
was
voice
just
was
perfect.
It was, yeah.
Perfect.
Then we went to another open air museum.
Mm.
It's, again, similar to our Greenfield Village,
Okay.
where they had sod roofs, and we went into the church where the beams going across would hit me right about here. So you had to duck. Very small. I mean, very,
Yeah.
very small,
Tiny.
because it was for a small little
Yeah.
community.
Yeah.
Short people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
trolls. And we saw a few buildings and how they lived there. And
Right.
It was.
There was a house that we walked. Well, I walked upstairs. Did you go upstairs in that one? And it's challenging. Short ceilings and the stairway. No hand railings or
Right.
anything. And you
Steep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very steep. Coming down was challenging.
Okay.
So that was in the morning,
Okay.
and then we went back to the hotel and got our stuff because we went to the Blue Lagoon in the afternoon.
The Blue Lagoon.
Blue Lagoon.
So what's the Blue Lagoon?
It's
it's
hot springs fed.
geothermal spa.
Ah.
They have to bring cold water in
Okay.
because
it's
it
too
would
hot.
be too hot.
Yeah.
As it is, the temperature ranges they say between 98 and 102 degrees.
Yeah.
And you can feel it. It's huge. I mean, you pull into the place and you think, oh my gosh, we're going to be crowded because the parking lot is full.
Right.
There's several tour buses there, and you just think you're going to be, in this
Yeah,
shoulder
right,
to
right.
shoulder. Well, you walk in and it is huge. It's again surrounded by lava, but
Black
this
lava.
blue, this almost powdery blue, eggshell blue, robin egg blue water.
Really?
And you walk in it, and it is just relaxing.
It sounds great.
You can walk up to this bar, and depending on the level of which you paid to get in,
Right.
because some people pay more than others, and you could get, I think it was a silica cream or mask that you could put
Oh,
on your
okay.
face. So you see all these people
With these
walking
white,
around
and we
with
were
white-
able to do it.
Yeah,
I did.
yeah, we did.
Put this in. You're just all white. I mean, and then you get rid of it by either going underwater. They have a waterfall there. You can stand under.
really?
it and
Really
feel the
powerful
water
water.
just pounding on. I love it, pounding on my shoulders and the back. It's just
It sounds
beautiful way to end the trip. You come out of there and you feel like a limp dish rag.
Yeah. And
Because
and you feel smooth all over because of that silica
Yeah.
stuff,
yeah,
and it's
yeah.
in the water too.
Sounds
so.
great. Wow, what a trip.
what a trip!
What a trip.
It was
Trip of a lifetime.
spectacular.
You guys, wow, it sounds like a fantastic trip of a lifetime, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really was.
Well, I
We're
want to
very
thank you.
fortunate.
I want to thank you both for coming in and
thanks,
sharing your
George.
experiences with us. It's been
Thanks.
fantastic.
Thanks for having us.
It's so anyway, we would like to close off and thank you very much for coming again.
Thanks, George.
And hopefully we'll talk to you again when you come back
Back
for
from
your
our-
next tour.
Okay, it's a date.